Alright, so it's been a while since I did a Star Wars Marvel review, and this is a key issue, and one of my personal favorite cover issues in terms of cover art. Star Wars number 45, Death Probe, came out in December 1980, right after their adaptation of Empire Strikes Back. So this gives the whole Marvel team a whole array of other characters and Star Wars technology to play with, and the first one that they decide to play with is one of the Death Probes, also known as the Infiltrator probe droid. This is a different model from the opening scene of the Hoth, and the guy who is one of the leads in the modified into putting these into Imperial production was Admiral Damon Krell, who is the lead villain in this issue. So in these filler issues in between, a lot of the Marvel writers weren't allowed to go far with the characters. Like Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader just came off of their fight in Cloud City, you know, so they're not allowed to meet again until Return of the Jedi, so they have to do a whole bunch of things that don't really advance the plot. So this one, he gets his bionic arm. It's already done. They do a little flashback. Vader only appears in flashbacks. And, so basically Luke's on his X-Wing flying to meet up to rendezvous with another Rebel Alliance ship, and the freighter ends up in the opening scene getting taken out, or basically getting raided by this probe droid, and it was just, everything was immediately terminated, all the crew members. So he arrives upon it, and the droid ends up hacking into the system of the ship, and he's flying it, and he ends up shooting Luke Skywalker's ship. He didn't see it coming, obviously, and he ends up blowing up his X-Wing. Luke ends up having to eject out of there with R2-D2. It's pretty funny. They're just floating around in space. He's got no space helmet on, even though he does in other issues when they go out into space. So then he finally swims his way through gravity of space back into the Rebel freighter, and he sees what's going on, that this probe droid has infiltrated the system. And then the Imperial Krell is coming in on his Star Destroyer, finally making his way to the scene because his probes found the ship. And so it's the confrontation. Oh, then basically it's a bunch of panels where Luke's, dodging laser missiles, him and R2-D2, and they're trying to hack back into the system and get control of it and shut down this probe droid. And Krell shows up, and a whole bunch of nothing happens. They're basically this probe reads that it's Luke Skywalker, and Darth Vader pre-planned it so that obviously if it picks up Skywalker, that'll bring him alive, because they want to harness his power because the Emperor wants him before him, a la in Return of the Jedi. So then that mission is aborted, and so Krell was kind of pissed off, and he's still trying to blow up the thing, and Luke ends up hacking back out of it and ejecting out of a pod through R2-D2. And then the ship ends up going into hyperspace, towards the Star Destroyer, and ends up blowing up the Star Destroyer, and he's a one-and-done admiral. He dies. And then Luke ends up floating in the pod, and he gets picked up by a Rebel X-Wing who are also coming to the scene, and that pretty much sums up this issue. Whole bunch of nothing. C+ is my final grade for it. Still a key issue because this is the very first one where they lead off. There's no Leia or Lando and Chewbacca searching for Han yet. So that's what we get in this one. That comes in the next issue. So this was JBM from VillainRadio. Click on the channel or search Marvel Star Wars comic book reviews. I try to do as many as I can. It's impossible to do the whole series, but I'm out. Thanks.